I mean, talking about, I suppose, unorthodox, I say unorthodox, but being very capable game goalkeepers. Obviously, conditions play quite a large part for keepers of all abilities.
Yeah.
Would you say that you change your game necessarily to conditions, like in terms of parrying or positioning, etc., or just consider it, or not something you generally think about too much?
Yeah, definitely in terms of support, you know, out of possession, so you're supporting distances when the opposition have the ball, because that's major in that when things are played over the top on a wet sort of greasy surface and they're going to skid through, whereas on a dry, long grass, you know, things are going to hold up. So yeah, I think the goalkeeper, in terms of the decision making, that is a massive part in understanding, you know, what the conditions are like on that particular day. You know, if things are going to skid through, then you know you don't have to be as high. Where if things are going to hold up, there's so many things, even with regard to support. You know, you know whether there's any pressure on the ball or not. If there's no pressure on, they can play over the back here. It could be the pace of your defender. If you're playing with Rio Ferdinand, because he's very, very quick, you can afford to play a little bit deeper, knowing that if the ball does get played over the top, you're then going to be the release for him to play back to you. If you're playing with a centre half who's not as quick, you're going to be further advanced just in case things get played over the top and you need to sweep up. So it's the old computer you know, of goalkeeping is there's so many factors, and I don't think you can read it out of a book. I think you can understand it. Right, yeah, I understand that. But I think you've got to do it functionally.
I think a big thing though that we speak about is having that, almost that kind of mindset to understand there are all these other things to consider in that, you know, goalkeeping in very simplistic terms, saving shots, kicking balls, catching crosses, but when you actually really dig deep, as you're saying, there's so many intricate details that could make the difference between, I guess, making a save or not having to, because you've read the game and played a different game. I mean, the one you mentioned there, and I suppose there's no necessarily, you know, it's not necessarily a rule to this, but a through ball that you're not sure on, if the defender's going to get there first, then generally, like you said, I guess you can drop. You can drop, make the angle, maybe play out and keep possession. And sometimes, even if you are going to get there, it may be the wrong decision. In that all you can then do is punt it forward. But I guess it's all these, again, intricate.
And I think the rules of the game now dictate, you know now, if you get outside your box and you make a challenge and you mistime it, or by a split second you make contact with the forward, it's a red card. And even with 1v1s, like a coach said to me the other day, I tell you what you don't see from goalkeepers, you don't see goalkeepers diving at feet anymore, you know? And the reality is, the game now, the goalkeeper has to be 60-40 favourite if he's going to dive at feet. In 50-50s, the majority of times, if he does dive at feet, the striker will see him come in and will just take it. He gets the penalty, he then gets red carded, he's then missing a game, and his team are down to 10 men. So I think if you're in any doubt now, you're far better off staying, defending your goal, and you know, the days of, I think, the goalkeepers that are going to sweep up and clean everything out, you know, a lot of time they'll be spent off the pitch, you know, because if they get it wrong, unfortunately, it's now a red card. And
well, that's one of my favourite goalkeeping cliches, which is take everything. The other one being beaten at his near post, or he's a good shot stopper. That's my favourite goalkeeping cliche, and I'm yet to meet that bad shot stopper. But anyway, I suppose on all that, I mean, we mentioned. In fact, no, I'm going to quickly touch upon Casillas again, because you mentioned about one-on-ones, and he was someone that opened my eyes in that I very rarely see him go in and take everything out. What he seems to do to me is, it's that kind of decision. Someone's coming through, I suppose he gets very close without committing, very close, and say make himself big. It's almost like a barrier that he's kind of on his side slightly, arms down. With the one-on-one technique, I suppose I'm getting onto, is there a kind of I suppose advice on that? Because the one that frustrates me is when I see keepers get beaten and ends up with legs in the air, and you actually think of the amount that they could have saved it by. It was literally, if they hadn't saved it with their foot, they weren't going to save it. Is there anything in terms of technique?
I think the 1v1 is a great example now of how the game has changed, in that the goalkeepers now in these 50-50s, where there's a reluctance to dive at feet, for the simple reason that if they don't make the ball, then we talked about it earlier. But the Schmeichel type technique of where he was the big star, and then I think Reina, when Reina came over, he actually has adopted a slightly different style, whereby it's very similar to the Casillas, where it's more of, I'm just going to be a block.
Yeah.
And when I went to see Xavi working at Liverpool, a lot of the work that Reina does is working from that position of, once he gets within maybe 2.5-3 yards of the ball, his ability to be in a blocking shape, but then be able to shift his body weight was fantastic. Yeah. And I said to Xavi, you know, is that something that he works on regular? Yeah. And he said, a massive part of it. Really? You know, because yeah, he wants to defend the goal and make the saves, but when he gets into those 1v1 situations, it's very rare that you see him overcommit to the ball. But yet he still makes many saves because he's such a formidable barrier.